deep diving into these cases is like dancing with the devil. But when you dance with the devil doesn't change. He changes you.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. It's Sunday, right?
Yes, Sunday.
Happy Sunday.
Good morning, everyone. Kelly, you look beautiful. Amber, I'm sure you do.
Thanks, Cher. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. And hello to chat.
Hi, everybody. So, welcome to another True Crime and Coffee. Got C.D.T that way, and Amber Truth Seeker News.
Hey, guys.
I've been looking forward to this one.
Same.
Yeah.
You stop it.
So, Cher informed me, since she set this all up, I just show up. I don't got to do nothing.
Well, that's easy.
Yeah. You just scheduled it. There you are.
Okay.
I need a secretary, but I'm yours.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're going to be talking mostly Wells and Watts, I guess. Hey?
Yeah.
But of course, they're in cases you guys have sunk your teeth into and want to talk about.
I do want to hear a little bit of Amber. I think Courtney Love was back in court recently, or a time that I heard about. I kind of want to hear a little bit about that too.
Yeah.
Okay, we can chat on that. It's very interesting.
Yeah. Well, why don't we start with that, actually?
Okay. Yeah,
because that one I haven't followed much, and yeah, that's. I mean,
Another
Nirvana.
loss.
Everybody loves Nirvana.
So it's from her ex-son-in-law. It's some terrible event happened. Like, it's even crazy to just summarize, but he lost they got divorced, Francis and Isaiah, and they lost possession of Kurt's acoustic guitar, the one he did in the Unplugged concert. It was a gift that Francis had given him, like, through their marriage and stuff. And he won it in the divorce settlement, fair and square through court. Well, Courtney, being obsessive and just, out of her mind, she decided, she's going to take it into her own hands and used her minions to pretty much break into Isaiah's house at the time. And pretty much they kidnapped him and tried to get him to give the guitar back.
Wow.
It's just out of, it's crazy. This woman is not well. She hasn't been well for decades. I mean, you can see all the old interviews, and, she's just been a train wreck, especially throughout like the early 2000s and the 90s, obviously. And yeah, it's catching up to her, all of her, transgressions. And now she's back in court, and I'm sure her lawyer will represent her, maybe on Zoom and all that. But in this month, I think next week, it's going to be progressing, and she may settle out of court with her ex-son-in-law. But if she settles, then she's almost admitting guilt to what she's being accused of. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be interesting. I'm not sure how it's going to go or where it's going to go, but I think that it's a good tool to use in case people want to look into Kurt Cobain's death as not being, he harmed himself with the gun and all that. Like, I believe that it's more than what it's been claimed to be. I don't think that he did it himself. I won't say the S word out there, but yeah, I don't believe that it was S. So that's pretty much the update. I mean, she acts this way for decades, and now it's caught up to her again. So we'll see where it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that he hurt himself either.
Really? Oh, wow.
I haven't looked into it much, but I mean, people tend to have this idea in their head with heavy metal singers and stuff that they're evil and depressed and stuff just because they sing about that, and that's not true. A lot of them are the happiest people you'd ever meet.
I think you love your daughter too much to do that.
Oh, yes. That is honestly, Cher, the main thing that kind of is just like a red flag to me. Like, there's more pictures from what I've seen in my research of Kurt holding that baby than of Courtney, being the caretaker, if you will, just from pictures and what we've seen. And to me, that speaks volumes, the way he was with her. And everyone said and he was sick. Obviously he had the problem with addiction, but he was trying to be better. And I think that the motive is clear. He was going to divorce her. There was no prenup. She wanted that money. I mean, we're talking millions upon billions of his estate. That's what it's worth. And to me, that is motive for somebody who is unwell like her to kill for.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, money is the great motivator,
Mm-hmm.
especially that
And
much.
then I like how with your research, you're looking into Courtney just kind of as a person. And I just feel like, you do look at people's personality when you're considering could they be part of a crime or could they have committed a crime, etc. And I feel like you're showing that, her history, it's definitely likely that she would be capable of either planning something like that or aiding in it, whichever.
Mm-hmm. And you know what's strange too is she has the same zodiac sign as O.J. Simpson, Nicole Kessinger, Jodi Arias. I mean, not saying that zodiac signs mean, a greater thing, but I just found that interesting. It's the same Cancer.
That's mine too.
Uh-oh. We're going to keep our eye on C.D.T then.
Yeah, watch out. But no,
That's why
I
I
agree.
think we're close.
Yeah, that's why we're friends. Stay on my good side. Yeah, I think that's fascinating.
Yeah, it's actually a hard case to cover because every single video I do of it, it has clips from previous shows and VH1, MTV, blah, blah, blah. I'm getting a lot of like copyright stuff and but to me, it's my passion, like the Watts case, we have no problem, any of us sitting down and talking to somebody about that case because it's almost like it's close to our hearts. It's a passion. We feel like there's more. That's how I feel about like the Kurt case. So I get these strikes and I'm like, okay, not ad revenue friendly. That's fine. But I'm going to keep going because this is important to me. And,
Love you guys. You'll risk it just to make sure the truth is out there.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'll take this strike. Mr. Cher's like, please don't. And I'm like, oh, I want it out there.
Yeah, I'm the same
Well,
way.
yeah, there's a difference between getting,
I claim the strike.
yeah.
Yeah.
Most times if you play music or whatever, you just get a claim, but you start getting strikes. That's
Okay. Yeah. Mine are claims. So that's not as severe, right?
No. I've only got one strike on my channel in the 2 years of doing this, and it was from Chris McDonough.
Oh man,
That's a shame.
yeah, you're not a real YouTuber unless you've had an actual strike. I had one years ago.
I
Yeah,
don't know that I
it's
have.
annoying.
Yeah, it is a hassle.
Yeah.
Especially because, I mean, when you're going through a case that's been 30 years plus, I mean, I'm going back to 1995 interviews and like clipping stuff. So then when I get the claim, I'm like, oh, but I need that, so I leave it.
Yeah, and you don't really have a whole lot of options. I mean, it's like you have to work with what was there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, someone was asking how old Kurt was when he passed.
27.
27?
Yeah.
So
So
he's in his 30s.
What do
he
you think
looks
about
at a little bit.
that kid now who was on one of the album covers, the baby naked in the pool?
Oh gosh.
He's suing the estate now.
Oh, God.
Pedophilia.
Can you believe that? Like, honestly, I mean, to me, it's just a money grab.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
He's saying that it's prevented his life from being, well, or whatever his claims were. Do you know what we're talking about, Kelly? The one Nirvana album where it has the baby underwater. That baby is suing the Nirvana estate, like claiming like he didn't want to be out there and it's ruined his life, blah, 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 blah. But for years, he's celebrated it prior. Like he was all proud.
So yeah, I feel like that's not going to work.
But he's using the pedophilia now. He's like,
Okay.
it's a pedo thing, and it's
Yeah, he's woke now. That's
yeah.
the thing.
So to me, it sounds like he's doing the whole Me Too thing.
Mm.
Right. And what I had heard, which I don't know if this is 100% true, but I'd like to believe it was, I heard that when that album was taken, Kurt was given the option to put something over his genitalia in the photo,
Yep.
but he decided not to. And he wanted it to say on the album, if this picture offends you, then you must be a P word.
Yeah.
But that never ended up happening. Like that, those words were never put on there or whatever. But I'd like to believe that that really was what Kurt thought. Like, this is art. This is what it is. You know,
I never took it as anything wrong ever until that guy came out. And even then I was like, I can kind of see it. But then I'm like, why now? You are like in your 30s or something. You could have done this when you were like 18, 19, 20. Like, why now? After a 2-year pandemic, now you're doing it.
Yeah.
So,
and why wouldn't he sue his own parents? I mean, they're the ones that
True.
signed off.
Exactly. Yeah. Why is he so upset? It's not like did his tallywhacker not grow since then?
I bet some
Right.
attorney reached out to him, like, you could sue for this.
Yeah,
I'll back you or something.
absolutely.
Somebody reached out to him to do it, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it's
Someone
he's
had
trying
an
to-
opportunity.
Mhm. Yeah.
So has that played out yet? I know, wasn't it kind of recently that he, like this past year?
I don't think they've settled yet.
Okay.
I'm sure they'll end up settling. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Man.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
But, you know, NK sounds a lot like Courtney Love in the interviews that I'm listening to, like just the ranting and, you know, you can't get a clear answer and you're going off in all these other tangents. Like, it's just very interesting. Like, I really think they have like a very similar personality type. It's just interesting when you see these cases and you kind of connect them. Like, that reminds me of Jodi Arias, or this reminds me of, you know, Chris Watts, like the Brian Laundrie thing. I sort of got like Chris Watts vibes from him. I don't know how you guys felt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people on YouTube and in, you know, groups in the comments I would see were absolutely comparing Brian to Chris Watts, just kind of the awkward demeanor, cold demeanor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just seem like just kind of detached.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yep.
And the deaths of the victims were both in the same manner. I believe Shanann's was the artery of oxygen flow was cut off, whereas I think they said Gabby's was her trachea was broke.
Wow.
So it's like both asphyxiation, but one different manners, I guess.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, both still very personal. And, you know, it takes time to do that to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not a 5-second thing.
Exactly. It's sad. It's really sad. I seen Gabby's father shared something on Christmas, you know, obviously remembering his daughter, and it was Gabby a little bit younger. I'm like, she's so tiny. She was such a kid, like even at 22. Like, I seen her on those like body cam and I was like, she looks and seems younger than 22 to me. But I mean, I'm 32, so I guess everyone seems younger once you're in your 30s.
Yeah, the body cams with Gabby, I mean, those were just heartbreaking to watch. You know, even if it didn't end how it unfortunately ended, it still would have been sad to watch her in that position where you could tell she just seemed so broken. And then the way Brian is like, you know, joking with the cops, they're cutting up, laughing, calling Gabby crazy, basically. It was just really hard to watch all that.
And I've seen, Cher, your comments about the Moab murders being tied to Brian Laundrie. And it's just very, I mean, we've done these cases before and looked into things. It's not adding up that we have had no law enforcement press conference for either one of these cases in the past few months. The Moab thing, think about it. The police stop with Brian and Gabby, that is the Moab Police Department. And they're the same people who are handling this Kylan and Crystal case. Like, it's very suspicious to me that this police department is handling somewhat. I mean, I'm sure FBI has a lot of the Gabby stuff now, but at one point, both cases were kind of being handled by one police department. To me, that's like suspicious. Like, we need more transparency, because this one police department has all this, hopefully more information than we have. You know, like, can we get like a statement or something? Can you guys come out and say Brian was not the young couple that was seen playing pool with Kristen and Kylan? You know, like, why is there nothing?
Yeah. It is odd how quiet it is. And, you know, you would think by now they would be able to say, okay, we 100% know that Brian Laundrie did not own, what was it, a 9mm that killed Crystal and Kylan. But they've said they've ruled him out. But then the father of Kylan is still saying it's in the realm of possibility. The family has not seen solid evidence that rules Brian out from their murders. It's all just odd.
Really is.
Mm-hmm.
Someone asked me in the chat if I think Brian killed those two women, and honestly, I don't know. I haven't looked into that at all, so I really can't give an opinion on it.
Right. And honestly, even if you looked into it, Mr. Cher, there's so few, we don't have much to really go by. Like, they haven't given us the ballistics for what gun was used for Brian. They haven't given us, you know, a lot of stuff that would help us kind of narrow this down. So it's like, people comment on my video like, no, there's no connection, or I believe the whole time there's been a connection. It's like, we just don't know. Like, we need more.
Yeah. That's one of the big problems with any of these cases. Well, other than Watts, we seem to have too much information, but we don't get anything from law enforcement. They won't tell us nothing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's after Colorado Police Department, I feel for decades has been a little bit suspect.
Mm-hmm.
I think all police departments have their thing. We're experiencing that here with the local case, Courtney Struble. No law enforcement agency wants to ever admit they made a mistake.
Right.
So even if they know that they've done something wrong, they won't correct it.
Right. And that's horrifying.
That's really troublesome.
Yeah. Yep.
It's very horrifying, because it just means egos and pride take precedent over, you know, just be honest with the public. Like, we made a mistake. We thought there was no connection in this, or we thought the victim, blah, 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 you know, but it's just not going to happen, because once they admit mistake in one area, they're going to think people are just going to use it against, like the Brian Laundrie case, the police officer who said, we know where Brian Laundrie is. Come to find out they lied. They have not come out and like apologized or anything about that mishap. Just like, come on, like, you told us you knew where he was. Come to find out you didn't know, and now he's dead.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah, I really think there's definite corruption, and just like you were saying, they don't want to admit that they've made errors. And I think that's kind of like with the Watts case. You know, Coder said to Chris, I don't think this girl had anything to do with it. Let's talk about where your wife is. When he was kind of starting to open up a little bit about NK, and he's like, I had an affair. He got that off his chest. And it's like, they didn't know NK's phone had pinged there. They didn't know NK searched the family in 2017. You know, they didn't know NK when she clocked into work yet, everything like that. And they just kind of fluffed her out because they had their eyes on Chris, which again, it makes sense. The husband, he was acting weird, this and that. But again, I just think, you know, police departments, police officers, they're humans, and they do make errors. They make judgment calls, and sometimes they're wrong, and they don't want to go back and fix it because they don't want to look bad. It's not good.
Exactly.
What do you Mr. and Mrs. Cher, think of David Carter and the phone calls with Tammy Lee, Agent Tammy. Have you guys heard them or know?
I haven't heard those.
Really?
No, I haven't. I've
You guys have been-
so gone away from the Watts case. I haven't
Yeah.
touched them for a while.
This kinds of stuff's been kind of happening like throughout the Summer Wells chaos. But Kelly and I have, you know, do you know who David Carter is before I start explaining?
I don't know. Do you know David Carter?
Yes. I did.
Okay.
Sure.
Cellmate of Chris Watts.
Oh,
Yes.
is that the one that was engaged to?
No.
No, that was
Oh, different
Dylan.
one.
Different guy.
Yeah.
Dylan. Right. Okay.
Dave Carter.
Yeah, there's Dylan and David.
So David has come out. He was calling CBI and FBI and playing phone tag pretty much, saying, when I was in prison with Chris Watts, he told me that the mistress harmed the children. So then he was recording the phone calls with Agent Tammy and releasing them like in our Facebook group and on his channel, which is very small. So it's probably just not making its rounds with the algorithm. But Tammy was interested in meeting with David. She was sort of, you could tell, hesitant. She's like, okay, well, and he said this to you and blah, blah, blah. And then what ended up happening was David went on AD and released some of the phone calls. And then it got back to CBI that it was on YouTube. And then David has a phone call that he had recorded with Agent Tammy, and she pretty much discredits him and says, yeah, we're not interested in meeting anymore. Like he admitted, or he said to Tammy, I have no problem taking a lie detector test, blah, blah, blah. As soon as Tammy found out some of the stuff went to AD and on YouTube, she canceled everything with David.
That's interesting.
Tammy
I
knows.
tried.
Oh, yeah.
They know more. They know, and they just know. I think now it's too hard to prove, is what I feel. They missed. I don't really know how much I think her father is involved. You know, not involved, but if her father has connections, this and that. I almost think it boils down to that it's too hard to prove now. I mean, they cleared the house at Wednesday. The crime allegedly happened on a Monday morning.
There's one reason only why that bitch doesn't talk, Nicole Kessinger, and it's because there's no statute of limitations on murder. That's the only reason she's not banking off of her story. She wanted to make money off of this. The only reason she's quiet is because she could still get charged.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I think she got some of that money from the oil company. What's it called again? What's it called? No, what's the plan?
Anadarko?
Anadarko. I think she got Anadarko money, changed her name, and she was told to shut the fuck up.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing. I mean, Amber really has gone into is just, you know, who were these people? What was the motive? Because we don't think Chris acted alone. Amber and I do not believe that. We have done years of research on this case. But yeah, I think the fact that, you know, the oil company or the oil site is where the bodies were. I mean, it was a huge, you know, it's horrible press for them, and they wanted it out of town, and so did the DA, and they wrapped it up with a little bow, but yet they had to go back on their narrative about where the girls were killed. I mean, it's just not.
It all comes down to money and politics, you know, like I'm sure the oil company greased up the district attorney's pockets, or, you know, they all work together.
Listen, I know how they do, people, because the first case, I think you two remember when I came onto YouTube, my first case was a high profile murder that had to do with oil company. She shot and killed her oil tycoon husband, Rhonda Glover. And so I know, how long was it? Like 23 years or something she was done in there. She did like half of her 47 years by the time I started writing her, I think. But anyway, I know what they were covering up, and I know, like, I had all of those attorneys and stuff in Texas willing to change what they said 2 decades before. I had the author of the book dragging Rhonda willing to rewrite his words. I had her lawyer like, oh my God, that is never left. Like, I'll give you all my files. Like, I had everyone willing to change their tune 23 years later. But
Wow.
back then, Jimmy Josie, the oil tycoon, he was paying for like everybody's lifestyle. He was keeping everybody buying all of the drugs, like the judges, the lawyers, the prosecutors, the doctors, everybody was in on that shit because they were friends of Jimmy, and Jimmy made huge donations to these places and stuff. So the doctor that ended up putting her on like a deadly cocktail of meds was Jimmy's friend. The oil thing, like I know what oil companies would do to cover up. So.
And you guys know the reporter, what's her name? Ashley Banfield?
Yep.
Did you guys know that when she was covering the Watts case, she got fired from, what was it? HLN?
Did she?
HLN, yeah.
She got fired as she was reporting on the Watts case. And to me and Kelly, that's always kind of stood out because it's like, what was she saying? What road was she going down? Who would have the power over a news station, an oil company? I have part of the phone call with Tammy and David if you want me to play it. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let me just let me know in chat. I'm gonna mute my I can't mute my mic, but let me just play it up to the I've been wanting to put it out there and just kind of go with it and be like, put Tammy under a microscope because she needs pressure. Everyone praises her, and I believe that Agent Tammy knows the truth.
She's the one who went on her husband's Facebook, right? And said, and made the monster, whatever. She started the whole social media shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, she really did. Here, let me play it. It's only like 32 seconds. It's only part of David Carter's stuff, but you hear Tammy, she's interested in meeting up with him at this point, and she pretty much says like, yeah, we'll do a lie detector test to make sure what you're saying is legit. And he's like, yeah, no problem.
Okay. We're going to try and see if there's a possibility we could come out and chat with you and possibly do a polygraph. Okay. Just so we can, show that it's legit. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Okay. So if you have any other, if anyone contacts you or if you have any questions, you can text me or give me a shout. But otherwise, I'll probably give you a shout next week and after we have more time to go through some records and see what we can find. Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. Bye-bye.
So to me, she said that she, was going to go through records again and see what she could find. First off, and this is what I was going to put together, but I just haven't had time. I have the pages, and as you guys have seen in the discovery, her ping near the house, her looking up the family in 2017, year prior. I have all this stuff, and it's like, what does Tammy need to go back and look at? Like, I could hand it right to her, this little list of things that she should kind of highlight, but then she, after that phone call, heard that he had gone on AD, and they had like another phone call I don't have on record, but she pretty much is like, yeah, we're not interested. So it's unfortunate because just because he went on AD, and again, he has a little bit of mental health issues, which he's been struggling with. And just because he's mentally ill doesn't mean what he's saying is false and shouldn't be looked at, in my opinion.
Sure, yeah. Because there is something weird about the Watts case, like how fast they shut it down as soon as Chris confessed to only killing Shanette.
Yeah. And my number one thing, we see this. Amber started a group, it was a year ago, I think in May, and it has almost 30,000 people. And people continue to ask to join every single day. People are interested in the case. They are open to the possibility that he didn't act alone. Most people in our group think he did not act alone. But anyway, a lot of people say, well, Tammy had to go down that route of, did Shanann do it? They just needed to find the bodies. My issue with that is before they started going down the route that Shanann did something, they had already identified, they flew the drone over Survey. They had already identified the previously disturbed ground where Shanann was and the sheet. So it's like they knew all of that. And instead of using that against Chris and instead of using his GPS against him, they decided to blame the missing victim at that time. And then, you know, eventually they found that blonde hair on one of the oil hatches. So I think if they had instead used, hey, Chris, you're the only one seen on camera leaving. Your GPS went right to Survey. We have officers at Survey right now who see disturbed dirt and a sheet. What, you know, I think he would have broke without having to put it on Shanann. And to this day, people think Shanann did kill the girls.
Well,
So
do you
that
know when
That's actually really interesting because I didn't realize that they'd even gone to Survey until I thought they didn't go to Survey until after Chris told them that
Right.
that's where everyone
That's
was.
been like the misconception and almost like a scam that they've pulled on the public, because a lot of people don't realize that. But when we looked through the discovery, it was talking about when they approached the shallow grave, and it said which was previously located, or something with the word previously. So it's pretty much saying like, yes, they went back. It was Thursday, this report. They go back Thursday, and the CBI agent on that page, which is not Tammy Lee. I think it's Mark something, not 100%, but it's not Kobach, it's not Tammy, and it's not Coder, FBI. It was another agent who pretty much slipped, or they didn't redact it or whatever, and he says the word previously located. So they didn't need Chris to label it.
So that would actually make more sense, because as soon as Chris reported her missing or whatever, they should have been they would have looked at Chris right away. So it would make sense that they would instantly check his GPS. So they probably did know all that before they even brought him in for the polygraph.
But it also bothers me that they didn't make it to Survey. The first day they went to Survey was that Wednesday that, you know, Chris was in there with Tammy and Coder all day. And if you look at the times that they flew the drone over, it's before they start leading him into Shanann doing it. But yeah, Monday and Tuesday, there was no police at Survey yet.
Oh, okay.
Because remember, Troy McCoy went back that Tuesday. But yeah, I'm like, why? I don't know. Maybe something with just having to get the warrant.
I'm sure I was just going to say exactly what you said. They have to get in contact with the owner of Survey Ranch. They have to get in contact with Anadarko. That Husky GPS program or whatever that was on the truck. I mean, it probably did take 2 days to kind of get these logistics through. Like, hey, do you mind if we search your vehicle? Hey, do you mind if we search this ranch? You know, and it's like that vital time was kind of lost when people realized like the steps of like how things took place. Like that was 2 days pretty much where no one was at Survey. And then we find out Troy actually was at Survey before the bodies were uncovered.
And Dave Baumhover's report about where the water truck guy said that Troy McCoy parked was near and adjacent to Shanann's grave. So Troy, on his first interview, didn't mention how he went back there. Baumhover finds out Thursday Troy went back and is like, we need Troy McCoy back in here for a second interview ASAP. It doesn't add up. The Watts case still, I still have so many questions, but.
Do you guys remember the video footage where they went to the Home Depot and they said they wanted the video, but the time they went there was when they knew Shanann wasn't in the state. So I'm like, why are they going there looking for the video footage? I guarantee you that was footage of Chris and Kay buying shovels and shit.
The receipt. Okay, the Netflix documentary showed us like bank statement. I don't know, receipts, bank statement, whatever. I'm trying to think of the word. Like how much money was spent that we hadn't really seen before. Like we got to see the statement from the Lazy Dog and that rooftop bar they went to and concessions at the Speedway or whatever. But yeah, I wonder, and I think the Home Depot visit, I can't remember, but I feel like it was that Friday.
It was Shanann. Yeah, it was Shanann was still at her work thing when that Home Depot So I was like, why are they asking for that? They know that's not Shanann, because they even say on there, Chris and like there's a video with Shanann and the kids. I think it's MK and the kids and Chris.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah. I want to
'Cause it
look
was
back
like-
into all that.
I think, was it 2 days or something? Shanann wasn't even there. It was like 2 days before Shanann was even on the plane or something like that. So
Right.
I honestly always thought
Wow.
it was video footage they took, and it was MK on that footage.
Wow. Which wouldn't surprise me because Kelly's had this theory that NK met the children and
Oh, I think so too. Oh,
and
NK definitely was around those girls.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, but I'm telling you, MK was around those girls.
I believe that too
Mhm.
because I don't believe the children were a part of the original plan.
No,
Even though I believe
yeah.
somebody else harmed the children, not Chris. I don't think that they were part of the original plan. So her kind of being around them, and remember when NK tells law enforcement, yeah, I was helping him find a house or a place for him and the girls and blah, blah, blah. Like, I think that those were actually true because I think that, you know, he was going to get rid of the house once Shanann was gone. And, you know, he was going to need a place to go with his daughters. So, yeah, the pottery thing, in the books thing, Kelly kind of connected things NK was saying, kind of alluded to the fact that she had spent time with the children, we think.
They were apartment hunting. So if you're apartment hunting, who was watching your girls then? Were the girls
Mhm.
apartment hunting with you? I think that's part of
Yeah.
why Shanann died. I think the girls knew. And that's why I
Yeah.
always think when Chris Watts said, he said, I was thinking of how I could save my girls. And like Mr. Sheriff said, you don't kill them. Just don't kill them.
Yeah.
But I always said, no, the girls were last minute and she was probably like, you know, they're gonna say something like they're gonna know they're gonna talk, like they have to go. You know,
especially if other people are involved. They had seen the other people.
I think
Mhm.
Chris knew of the plan, but I honestly don't think I don't think Chris put those girls in there. How could he do that? He wouldn't have barfed or anything. There'd be no
Right.
throw up anywhere. Like, let's
No
be
way.
honest. You're pushing your children and like trigger warning, but their skin and lip and everything was falling off. You're gonna do that to your own kids and there's not gonna be no reaction.
Doesn't make sense.
I don't think so. I honestly think, no, I couldn't do it, but I know there's other people. Everyone knows Chris Watts doesn't even fit the bill. Even Tammy said that to him, that you don't fit, like, this doesn't
Yeah.
fit. So
When they go
I
back,
don't think he could have done it without throwing up or something, like leaving some kind of trace he was there.
remember in the prison interview, he even says, like, they start talking about that, what you were just referring to, and he says, can we talk about something else? I feel sick to my stomach or something like that.
Yes.
We didn't even talk about it. And yes, you could argue he's a psychopath, he's a sociopath, he's this, that, he's that. That's what he's lying, he's pretending, he's, you know, not a real father, blah, blah, blah. But I just don't know. People who look into it a lot deeper, like we have, it just doesn't add up. And
Statistically, I'm going to say every one of us girls on panel, and probably every girl in the chat right now, has been with a narcissistic, either physically or emotionally or both, abusive man at one point or another in their life. More than not in this whole chat right now. And I've been with a couple. I have children with a very bad man who is actually a registered violent offender. That's not what I see in Chris Watts. I don't see him as a nurse. I actually see him like I see a lot of us girls. I always will say I see the battered women syndrome on Chris Watts, like the man version of battered men syndrome.
I definitely agree, and it's an insult to everybody's intelligence, the way that they've portrayed that case as what it is in the media and forefront. I think that it's just, that's what makes people interested in it, because they're adding 1 + 2 and they're not getting 3. They're like, this guy, these videos, and that's what's sort of ironic about it all is Shanann documented so much that we see so much behind the scenes. You know what I mean? Like, we've picked apart all Shanann's stuff, and they've given it to us, like where it's not like Brian Laundrie, where we're kind of like, well, we don't really know much about him. He probably was capable of that. We've seen so much of Chris that we're just still, and everybody's dumbfounded because it's not true.
Dude, don't plan it.
Admit it.
I just want to acknowledge Cotton Candy Boobs actually changed her name to Cotton Candy Boobs.
Nice. I love it. So yeah, that's
And
just
also
cotton
to
candy.
remind the girls who said they're dealing with that right now, you don't have to. So make sure you know that. Like, you have your own power, and don't let men control you like that.
Yeah, and if you can look into safe means to
And vice
separate
versa, men and girls too. Vice versa. You don't
yeah,
have to deal with that. Just walk out.
exactly. Life is way too short, and there are means and resources to go to that will help you safely get away, which I think was Gabby's, and you can't hold it against her. I mean, geez, it happens. 1 in 3 women are, well, actually, I think it's men and, well, no, it was women. This statistic where, you know, they're in an abusive relationship. I think Gabby was
7 times.
Brian.
Up to 7 times on average for women. And I know because the person I share 2 children with, I left him each pregnancy. I left him and I was out, but I kept going back until the very last time where I almost died. And I don't know if anyone has heard, and anyone from Minnesota knows KDWV radio with the psychic who goes on. I can't think of his name. But one of my ex's own friends called that psychic. And the psychic said on the radio, you need to get her out of there because I see nothing but blood everywhere. And if she doesn't get out now, she's not going to get out. And that day, he actually grabbed me by my hair and smashed my face into the dresser. And there was blood everywhere.
Whoa.
So I was like, yeah,
God.
I know. And I was packed up by his own friends that very day and taken out. And I never went back.
I'm so glad
And
you
now
got
he's
away.
facing
That
charges.
is so sad that you had to go through that, because, and when you're in those positions, sometimes you start to, like, I was never physically abused like that. Like, I'd been pushed by an ex. That was the extent of it, because I would never stand, not that, I mean, it's just different for everyone, but it's like, you almost felt, I almost started blaming myself. Like, did I deserve that? You know, but I don't see Chris Watts as that foreframe, you know, and experience has a lot to do when you're looking at these cases. You can relate.
He probably thought that was normal. I love Cindy Watts, Ronnie Watts. I check in with them, but Cindy is a tough cookie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that's where Shanann and Cindy butt heads, is because they were so much alike.
Oh, yeah.
At the same time. So I do think maybe it's something Chris was kind of used to and thought was normal. Maybe he finally had friends around him saying, no, dude, this is not normal.
And that's the problem too, is when you hear about Chris's friends. Remember that one guy, I can't remember his name. The neighbor, Kelly, the one who said he removed Shanann from Facebook because her posts were annoying.
Oh, well, Jeremy Lindstrom.
Oh, yeah. Was it?
But I think, yeah, but the one who removed him, I think, was Cody Roberts.
Oh, well, that's
but Jeremy Lindstrom might have too. But yeah, Jeremy, though, mentioned if there was, like, again, I'm just repeating what Jeremy said. He said if there was a commercial on TV with some ailment or whatever, Shanann would be like, oh, I have that, or I had that, or, you know.
Right. Interesting. And it's interesting that Cody would go up and remove her completely. One, because he's the youngest. He should know that you can just unfollow somebody on social media where it's not like blatant, like I removed you. And 2, if you have suspicions of Cody and his involvement, the fact that he 100% removed Shanann from his social media, to me, is sort of noteworthy.
One more thing I want to say about, you know, some people say they think that Chris was probably abusive throughout the whole marriage, or behind closed doors, this and that, or that it was a trial separation when she left for North Carolina. My thing, this is just my opinion, but when you look at the texts, okay, between Chris and Shanann during the 5 weeks that they were separated. And even the letter that Shanann wrote to Chris, it was all like completely out of the blue for Shanann. There was never like, you're treating me like this again, or I thought things were going to get better, or I really hope, we can work it out this time, or anything like that. It was all like, you have changed. Yeah. Blindsided. And so to me, that tells me their marriage was okay. I don't think Chris was super happy. I'm not saying their marriage was perfect, but I'm not seeing the pattern or any friends, which I know sometimes people don't tell their friends, but I'm not even seeing the communication between them showing that there was previous issues until NK really entered and got Chris alone for all of those weeks.
Yeah.
That's
scary.
just my opinion.
When you see the desperation and just her confusion in the way that he was acting towards her. And, we've said before, Cindy, runs the house in her house, and that's how Shanann was. So maybe, it was just so different that he was acting this way, but at the same time, I think it was more than just finally he had a voice. It was, like you said, completely different. And
then you hear the allegations that she was giving him drugs, basically. And again, you don't have to believe it, but that is something that has come out, so it's worth considering,
Right, because what else would change you completely as a person? Some sort of
something went on there for sure.
Yeah, do you think
something went on?
I think that there was drug use, even though we don't. Because there was like code words, remember? Something about cookies and something.
Yeah, lollipops. Yep.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
What do you think, Mr. Cher? I know you've kind of thought it was more like Chris acted alone. Do you still feel that way, or am I right about that?
Yeah, you are right. I'm kind of on the fence. I could see that he did, but a lot of that is because I don't want to exist in a world where people could plan to murder children. So I try and take the easiest way. Like he was wanting out of the marriage, wasn't happy, and blah, blah, blah. He lost his shit and killed Shanann, and the kids happened to wake up. So he didn't have a choice. Well, in his mind, he didn't have a choice because there were witnesses at that point.
Yeah.
So that's just easier for me to stomach.
Yeah.
Could he been egged on by NK or assisted? Yeah, absolutely. But
But
I don't think it's I don't think it was a sacrifice or some kind of big.
Right. I don't think that either. Where I was thinking, I was kind of going along with what you were saying, like, the children witnessed something. I thought that, but then at one point, Chris says in I think the prison interview, he's like, she told me I would never see the kids again. Like, as he was explaining why he flipped. But then somebody wrote in the comments, which had the most likes or whatever on the prison interview. It was upset that she says you won't see the kids again, kills the kids. So it's just this. It's like a enigma. I really think Chris Watts is an enigma.
He is. Yeah. Well, he's not the kind of guy to look at him or speak with him. You wouldn't think he's a murderer. He doesn't seem like that type. But then again, lots of people. I mean, how many serial killers do the next door neighbors think? Oh, he's a great guy. He was quiet.
Yeah.
They're very good at pretending.
Whereas I do believe that that's so true. You just can't, you don't know someone's deepest, I think that Chris had sort of a dark inner something about him, but he had subdued, it was able to be controlled. Whereas everyone, it's kind of like yin yang, there's always a balance of what you can do as a person, enact evil to what you choose to do. But I think NK and possibly drugs or something, a sex addiction also, I think that something snapped in him, but it wasn't a snap in rage.
Mm.
But just going from Watts Island to the Summer Wells, it's like, I think Watts Island prepared us for Summer Wells case. Unfortunately, the chaos and all that is what I'm referring to. That's why, like, Kelly and I are like still looking at Watts stuff, and I'm happy that Cher still talks to Cindy, and that are they doing, well and all that.
I don't know when the last time she spoke to them, but yeah, they were getting by anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just a loss for both sides, and I think that
It is.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not their fault that what their son did.
No, even if they were shitty parents, it's still not their fault.
Right.
Like if your 10-year-old kid takes a gun out of your drawer and shoots somebody, then that's the parent's fault. Absolutely.
Yeah, like
But
the
he's a
crumbly.
grown-ass man.
Yeah. Prime example. And they're the first parents I'd read to be held accountable for one of these shootings at the school, at least.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think just my final thoughts on the Watts, like, I understand men kill their families. It happens, unfortunately, way too much. But when I look at other cases compared to the Watts case, it adds up for me. I'm like, okay, like even if there is a mistress, she's not cold. And I'm sorry, but NK's interviews just give me the cold chills.
She's cringy.
And then,
yeah.
with the, yes. And again, I mean, you could argue that doesn't mean she did anything. But I don't know, the fact she lied so much on her very first interview. That was one of my first videos I made, was her 5 lies that are proven lies. And she spewed those out like it was nothing in her first interview. And then the fact she Googled them in 2017. The fact that she pinged there that morning. And again, you could argue she was just driving by, but that she was never asked about it. That's what's frustrating. She was never asked about it.
Yeah.
And she was asked one time about the 111-minute conversation, and then never again. She didn't answer like what was spoke about, or like they didn't dig into it. Oh wait, didn't she say, Kelly, oh, we'll get to that. And then we never got to it.
Yeah. Yeah, because she directed that interview a lot with Kobach.
Oh, yeah, and law enforcement just went along with it just to tick the box. Like, yeah, we talked to her. Like, I don't think they had any interest in trying to actually go after her.
100%.
And once Chris confessed, I think that was it, because I think the oil company was pressuring law enforcement, wrap this up quick. So as soon as they had Chris say he did it out of rage because Shanann hurt her children, which I don't believe, that was their opportunity, and they just went with that, and that's all there is to it.
Looks good on paper. And in on Netflix and the ID channel, all these other Lifetime, and it's like it's a good story, like whatever they're painting, and it's very similar in ways to Scott Peterson, so it worked for the district attorney, and now for the commercial video, or just the Lifetime movie. Prime example, like they had that movie out, it's just so grimy.
I couldn't even watch the end of that. It made me feel sick.
Is that the one where that woman was narrating?
No, that's a different one. The Lifetime movie, they actually
it's horrendous.
It was horrible. I couldn't watch the ending. It made me feel like I was there in the house.
It was so gross, wasn't it?
It was like they re-killed Shanann and the girls all over again. It was sick.
Yeah, that scene, they should have had a trigger warning, and here it is.
Absolutely gross.
Yeah.
Well, society loves violence.
They do.
Yeah.
We do.
And they painted. What did you think of the way they showed NK in that movie? She was like,
yeah,
like
credited. Wasn't she credited in there? She got paid for that. I'm telling you, she got money for that.
They had to have. They
I
used
swear
her
she was
name.
credited in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they're going to follow the narrative, right?
Yeah, she got paid for that.
Yes.
I have no doubt.
I've gotten comments in my group, which I approve because I just know everyone in the group's going to go off. They'll say things like, "Is the Lifetime movie what happened?"
Is it?
Like,
Not
no.
likely.
No. Not likely. Yeah. Well, one more thing. So NK's dad being in the interview room, like, okay, fine, she wasn't considered a suspect, this and that, whatever. But it's just interesting to me that Nicholas Atkinson, when he did his interview, he's a minor, his mother, Nicole Atkinson, was present. Okay. Dave Baumhover, though, said to Nicole, please, I'm asking these questions for Nick. You just kind of stay quiet. He, before the interview started, basically asked Nicole, like, you be quiet. This is an interview with Nick. But then in NK's interview, her dad butted in. And I don't know. It's just, where was the protocol? Then they took Kobach away. They said, okay, Kobach, you're off of NK in September. Just interesting little things.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and sorry, forgot my train of thought. It was about NK though. It was about the way that Kobach interviewed the babysitter. I don't know if you've ever heard that interview, Mr. Cher.
No, I haven't. No.
It's the really I mean, there's little things that are kind of interesting, but what stood out to me was the way that Kevin Kobach verbalized his interview with this minor who was just the innocent babysitter. He's very professional. Like, you wouldn't even know it was the same Kobach interviewing NK. And it was very like,
yeah, he was very, like, if she wasn't clear, if she wasn't clear, he would go in a little harder on her and, like you said, stern.
Complete opposite, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And what stood out actually about what NK said about the babysitter is she had known that the babysitter doesn't do overnights. Like, I know the mistress in situations are very, maybe they do know every little thing, but like, why would she have known that this babysitter of all of them or whatever didn't do overnights? It's like, she's like even in on the plans of planning which babysitter they were going to use. And it's a little unsettling. That's all.
She just knew a lot for such a short. Yep. But yeah, I know Amber and I both want to start kind of diving back into it and re-looking at it. The Discovery, again, though, I have so many notes where, I've gone through Discovery and I'm like, page 1442, NK's phone log or whatever. And then now I go and type in page 1442 and it's something different. So all my notes are going to be off. And I don't know if that's because they've taken more out of it. I think they've redacted more.
Yeah. It's either that or the format of the Discovery itself maybe has been. No, that wouldn't make sense because it's every page has to be what it was.
Right. I mean, it could, because the format is different. So that could be it, Amber.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
The way it updated, some pages were able to be into one. I don't know. But all I know is a lot of my notes, I'm like, because I have to look at everything now.
All I know too, in reference. What was that?
I know. I've spent a lot of time.
Oh yeah. She knows like every page pretty much. But the interesting thing about the pages in the Discovery too is the most interesting pages, like knowing that the Vivint alert records are still sealed, even though they were supposed to be unsealed after 90 days, but they never got unsealed and given to the public. That page, you cannot search it by the word Vivint. Like when you look in the Discovery for Chris Watts, there's a part which, a lot of pages have where you can search by word. So if for some
Yeah.
reason, this page, you cannot search it by word. Another page you can't search by word is the fingerprints that was found on the plastic bag at Survey. Can't search that page by word. Like you can't type in plastic bag and it come up. Like you have to go through. So it's just interesting. Like those two things, the Vivint records we need. Like I want that. That if this case is closed and this court document said protect this for 90 days because they thought it might go to trial. So when they're putting these court papers through the process, you have to explain, why you want this sealed. So their excuse was, it needs to be protected, this information, So then when they released the discovery to the public, we never got those up. It never updated pretty much. And there are still Vivint records that they have sealed. That's not that I don't believe was part of Chris Watts's plea deal. Like the autopsies were to be sealed.
Yeah.
One more thing that I would love to hear. So, he called Vivint in July, the same day that he took different pictures showing the layout of the basement. He called Vivint because Shanann saw that there were issues with it. And she said, can you call Vivint before I freak out or whatever? So he did. I would love to know, they say these calls can be recorded. I wonder if they went to Vivint and got that call. I would love to know what he talked to Vivint about in July, the same day he took the basement layout photos.
It 100% would have been recorded, and it is recorded. Where is it?
Yeah. Just little things like that.
Yeah. And isn't MK's notes that she gave to law enforcement an unsearchable area of the discovery as well?
Yeah. I think, what was it? Can't remember how many pages, but yeah, it's not searchable.
You end up having to go through it page by page by page. And unfortunately, I think they underestimated people like Kelly who really will go through page by page by page.
Yeah, I have. Yeah. Yep. But yeah, and I can see the other side, that people checking convictions, just that people don't want to think this all-American guy could snap and do that. And, I can see that. But for me, it's the evidence that, I don't know, the time frame, again, what NK was looking up, who, just the past. I don't know. I mean, is it possible he did? Yeah, but I just feel like there's so much circumstantial evidence that shows there's more to it.
And even if what we think is just conspired, possibly had physical on Shanann, I think it's possible. But he would still get a life sentence for conspiring, murder, blah, 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 blah. Like it's still a life sentence in Colorado. So even if it was what I think it is, which was he was a co-conspirator and he was in on this, like he knew about Shanann and blah, 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 blah. Like I think it's possible that he physically killed Shanann, but in my mind and just my opinion, which we have the right to have because there was no trial. Whereas, it's clear as day Jodi Arias killed Jason.
Yeah. Yep. And I'm trying to think like the Todd family murders. Remember that guy killed the whole family and I think the dog too. Like that one, cut and dry. I think Chris Coleman, I think that case is pretty cut and dry. I just don't feel like the Watts case is. That's just my opinion though.
Which is why the plea deal is just, I mean, it's not going away. Like other plea deals take place in, the US and you never hear about it. This case needed a trial and now it's even more of a mystery because people don't want to believe the main narrative that's fed to us, which is normal because we never saw evidence. We never saw pictures. We have very, very little, even though they've made it seem like we've given you a lot.
Like, no, they really haven't. Yeah, I saw someone else mention that. It looks like it's a big discovery and that they're being transparent, but they're not. I mean, a lot of the discovery is just a bunch of, media email back and forth, or
They had Shanann's flyer in there like over and over, like before, like when she was a missing and endangered person. They had mail that was being written to Chris while he was in county jail. Like, who cares?
Yeah, who cares? We want to know, what evidence did you test? Did you, test, like, what were the content? I don't know. I just want to know everything, like the contents of their stomach more, like why does CC's cause of death say likely due to manual smothering or whatever? It says likely. That bothers me, where Bella's does not have the word likely, just CC's.
And as we know from other cases, verbiage in the media and in these documents matter. Likely.
Yeah.
A doctor is not going to say likely. They're very factual. This is what it is. This is your diagnosis. This is how we treat it. This is what happened to this person. So it's just questionable. I just remembered another page in the discovery that you can't search by word. And it was after they found the fingerprints or the footprints, because there were footprints also that Chris handed over to the state. After they found them on the plastic bag, they did a search of Colorado State of fingerprints. Like, they ran it through their database. And then it said federal search to be followed. And like they were going to do a follow-up with the federal search of the United States. And they never did. Plea deal, no follow-up.
Yeah. So that's our thoughts on Watts. We both have a lot of videos on, the case going through the discovery. Yeah. Final thoughts on Watts. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the case. It's just never going to go away.
It's true.
No, it's not. I mean, like I said, the group Amber made is called, well, we changed it, but now I think it's Chris Watts did not act alone. We want answers. And so many people, like I said, there's almost 30,000 people in there who think, the case. I'm sure not every single one, but the majority who are active in the group think that there is more to it. At the very least, would like answers. So, but
yeah, there's definitely a lot of unanswered questions with that.
And it's very new still. Like 2018 is a while ago when you think about the pandemic and how many years 2020 felt like. But at the same time, it's not that long ago. So this case is very fresh. It's very modern. We can relate to Shanann and the family, like I'd seen videos popping up in the group over Christmas time of them making cookies. And it's just like, it's going to happen every year, I'm realizing, in the group. And, remembering the victims almost gets a little bit lost at times, I feel, because there's just so much mystery, in my opinion, in the group and in the case in general. But it's just sad. It's never going to go away. And I wonder what actually happened to these people. And a lot of people do.
And see, my thing with the plea deal. So Rourke, he did an interview with media and he's like, I thought about making part of the plea deal where Chris had to give a full accurate confession. Because when the plea deal was made, he only confessed to killing the girls, but he claimed, the narrative and the DA sat there on the podium at the sentencing after the plea deal stating Chris carried all the bodies out like trash. He killed the girls at home, took them to the oil field. Well, then it comes out, the DA says, wait, I actually do see shadows in that footage. Months later after the prison confession, we see shadows. He killed them at the oil field. It's like, how can the DA, why didn't they see the shadows back in August, they should have looked at that camera footage with, their high technology, whatever, and question like, hey, Chris, we think we see shadows. Did you really kill them at home? And I don't know. I just have a lot of problems with the plea deal.
Yeah,
So
me too.
that's where I.
Yeah, that camera footage, you literally see Chris bend down and pick someone up. Some shadow was coming towards him. He bends down and picks it up. It had to have been one of the
Right.
girls. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
Chris, that
call
was
a lot of attention to this, but the person in the chat talking about we're damaging the Ruziks, we haven't said anything about the Ruziks. So
no.
you can leave or I can block you, but knock that shit off.
Yeah, and then that local that is what his original confession was that Shanann killed the girl, killed the girl, so he killed Shanann. And that was all he verbally stated until, I guess, February of 2019 when he did his second prison confession.
And he said to his father, like, he said, she hurt them, so I hurt her. Or did he? It was just like very elusive. And then they jumped on it. They're like, yep, gotcha.
Yeah.
When really he still could have gotten up and been like, actually, you know what? I'm going to get my lawyer. I can walk out of here.
Yeah, he does. He does state that he killed the girls at the site, but they stated to the entire world that he killed them at home and he loaded them like trash. But then when, I don't know, there's debates on who found the original shadow and put it out on social media and YouTube. Then they go back, they interview Chris, and they're like, well, we think we see a shadow. He's like, yeah, I did. I killed him at the site. It's like, I don't know which one
Didn't
is it, Chris?
even say, I thought you seen?
Yeah, he's like, you mean you didn't see? And Coder says, well, it's not clear.
Yeah. So when he's freaking out in the living room and they're looking at the footage, it's because I think Chris in that moment thought people saw the children, which, didn't go with his story of Shanann took them to a play date. You know what I mean? So he's panicking because his lie's falling apart right there. He doesn't know if they see these vehicles going by, and apparently everyone's saying it's Betty's vehicle, but she pretty much speeds by. Like, wow, she's in a hurry. It must have had a lot of coffee or pre-workout on the way to the gym, I guess. But it's just a lot of commotion in that vehicle and very hard to see. Like, I'll admit it, and I really don't even think they would have been able to present that footage in front of a court and say, see, like the DA wouldn't, if it went to trial, can you see him going up there saying, look, he's carrying them out like trash. Like you just can't see.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have mystery.
But that's our thoughts on the Watts. Summed up.
Final thoughts on Watts.
Yeah, I think we said that 5 minutes ago, but for real, I mean, we could go on and on.
Yeah, it never ends, does it?
I feel like we need it in a way. Like, we need little chats like this, like, because it's just a lot to kind of mentally work through. And I try to, other things, like I said, I fall down the Courtney Love interviews and I'm gone for like hours. But then it's just like rabbit holes. It really is in these cases. And for me, the Watts one is just never ending. You just keep, so it's good, I feel, to have these chats, over coffee or, just live, because it's a lot to work through and you almost forget about these details. Yeah,
you do. You really do. I know I like to just kind of even go back and watch your videos, Amber, some of mine are our old lives, and it's interesting to see what we pick up on.
And as far as the families, the Ruziks have stated, stick to the discovery, and that's the truth. So we pointed out numerous things that the discovery did not give us, where their prime and the most evidentiary type of information that would help us decide the truth and we don't have it. So we are sticking to the discovery. And unfortunately, there's things that we just never got because the trial never took place. So now it's just, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That it is. Yeah, I never really got into the discovery so much of the Watts. I mostly just took the crazy, the really far out there theories and debunked them. That was pretty much all I did.
Yeah. And there were some, like, I remember you debunked one where people thought they saw NK or some movement when Coonrod was knocking on the door. And I agree with you.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I don't think NK was hiding up there at all when they were
Right.
searching the house.
Yes. Yeah, that was a good video too. And
Yeah.
the guy carrying the shovel.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one and the red car. The red car was a huge one that lots of
'Cause
people still think
it's
that red car was parked on their lawn or in that little dirt path.
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
gravel.
But yeah, I showed that from Nate's camera. I took a still from where you see the red car, and then I took the same still from later on that day when it's light out, and you can see, like, that's not where the car was. The car was in Betty's driveway. I'm not saying it was Betty's car, but it was in her driveway.
Yes, and that's
Beyond any doubt.
100% agree on that aspect. I'm not saying it was Betty's car, but that was in her driveway. Bottom
Yeah.
line, not on the gravel, in my opinion, either. But what's interesting is in the discovery, they say that one of the dogs picked up on one of the victim's scents near that gravel area, right, Kelly?
I can't remember for sure, but I feel like the dog was barking around there, but I can't remember
Oh,
for
wait,
sure.
yeah, that's what it was. It was only in the video we noticed it.
Okay.
It wasn't in the discovery. I've corrected myself, but
Yeah.
the videos are really good references too. And that one in Nate's driveway, though, I do like how you were able to. I don't have like the best stuff to like zoom in on things, so I love when creators have, you know, the means to really get into that footage.
Yeah, and I'm not sold that there was a red car.
Yeah, that's what's funny about Kelly and me. Like, we agree on a lot of things, but then the red car thing, we just like, I see a red car, Kelly doesn't know.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, some people thought it could have been a gray car or whatever, but the light reflecting off of Chris's truck's taillights
Mm-hmm.
could have made it look red. It looks awfully red to me. I don't know.
Same.
Yeah.
But
It's possible.
yeah, and Kelly and my fiance agree that it's debatable. So it's just interesting. Something like that, I wish we could, like, how other neighbors had to have had cameras.
Right.
Hmm. Well, I mean, if anyone could just ask Betty.
Yeah. Do you think
Because some people said that she never ever owned a red car, and some people said she had a family member that was there that time and they had a red car. I don't know. But Betty said she left like every morning for the gym at that time, and a vehicle left from her driveway at that time. I mean, I'm okay with putting two and two together with that one. But
Yeah.
maybe it wasn't. Who knows?
sometimes things in that case, you just have to be like, I guess I'll just agree, or like you said, like, I'm willing to put two and two together, and just because it's like, you can't just debate these little details. You go round and round, and like, we could just get, like you said, a word from Betty, like, hey, is this you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's where I go, do you think that she's signed some sort of NDA? Like, the state gave her like a gag order type thing, like, you're not to talk about, because she gave an interview. It's in like the records of like the case. So was she somebody that they were like, you're not to mention anything on this case? Please sign here. I don't know if those things happen. Like, I just don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw there was a video following the discovery. The police are talking with her at her front door.
Mhm.
And she
Yeah.
said that she saw the small gray truck, but we know that that's not true because we literally see Chris's truck start up and drive up and then back into his driveway. So we know it was Chris's truck. So I don't know if she had her days mixed up or what. So maybe she didn't even go to the gym that day. Maybe
But
she
the
slept in.
You know what's also interesting too is, say something was planned, would the people who planned know that the neighbor leaves at that time? Like, so everyone says she leaves at that time at every morning. What if they didn't give us that part of the footage where she leaves, and then like, we don't know what they've given us pretty much, and they've edited things, so she could have left possibly that morning already, and then somebody pulled in her driveway and left again. Like, you can't discount that being a possibility, like, in the grand scheme.
Very true. You can't.
If they knew that she left every day at that time, then perfect. We'll park right in her driveway, load up what you need to. And again, this is all theoretical and opinion and just going down rabbit holes. So it's just banter pretty much.
Yeah. I would say it's either like, because we don't have Nate's original footage. We have what he gave to law enforcement and then they put in discovery, right? So
Mhm.
it is possible that Betty left 10 minutes after Chris did, and they just chopped that few seconds of video out
Yeah.
Mhm.
because there's no way we would know.
Right.
Yep.
Because if they're hiding other things, you kind of can't say that this isn't a possibility of that you're hiding the rest of Nate's footage. And he said right when they were in that living room at that time slot that they were looking, he for during the day, like when Nicole was there and pulled in, he's like, I got nothing. So at that point, Chris was saying she left for a play date. So they were looking at that time slot, and he says, I got nothing. So we don't know what it was like, hours beforehand. And then all of a sudden they give us the footage of Chris loading stuff. And it's like, wait a minute, like, where does this start and where does this end, this footage? Because when Nate's flipping through his Vivint like records, you see different cars and red vehicles. And Kelly has a really good video about the red vehicles specifically. And it's not saying that car, and she even said herself, she doesn't know if that car was a red car, but it's just showing as Nate's going through his Vivint records, there are other cars that were around the area that are red. And then I think there was like a white one too, which in the discovery at like near 1 in the morning, there was a call put in about a suspicious white truck. So those Vivint records and what Nate had days prior to that footage is what we needed.
I also wouldn't mind seeing Nate's camera footage of Shania coming home,
Right.
Yeah.
because that would have been caught on camera.
100%. Yeah.
And Nate tells, I don't know if Nate, I don't know why. It's like, okay, so Baumhover went to Nate, and I think it was in October, and was like, hey, we're still waiting for your footage. And he's like, okay. So they give him a flash drive or whatever. And he mentions how he would see Chris leaving around the side gate. So I think Chris probably went out the back or basement or whatever, is not to alert anything, and would leave around the side gate, go to the Lexus parked on the driveway. And it's like, I don't know. It's just interesting in that Baumhover said, have you expressed this? Have you told anyone this? And Nate's like, no. It's like, why not? I don't know. It's just odd. Like, I don't know. I just wonder what all Nate has. And he was supposed to interview with, I think Baumhover asked Nate if he would come in for an interview. I believe it was October 31st. And we never hear if that interview happened or what was said in that interview with Nate. So just a lot of little things.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And details matter. So it's a lot of little things, but like these details actually matter. So it just leads to conspiracies in a way because we just don't know. So it's all we kind of have is to kind of go down like, I wonder what this and I wonder what that. It's just it is what it is.
mhm.
Yep.
What's
Well, changing subjects. Did you watch the interview with Dudley, Dawn's ex-coworker?
No.
No, I heard about it. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, it was interesting. I'm wondering if anyone in chat has watched it yet.
Where was it? Or I mean, you don't have to say if you don't.
Well, Cher had Cher. I love saying Cher shared it. It's so fun. Cher had shared it. Let me see the channel. But yeah, he basically just said Dawn's like a vindictive person. Smoked marijuana with his 11-year-old son on job sites.
Mhm.
So, and that, yeah, like Dawn, yeah, Sweetie Pie Low is who did it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that there was one night where CPS was supposed to visit the house. And so Dawn said he might have to camp out at whatever construction house they were working on that day. He had like a little stove and stuff. It's like he wanted to hide away from CPS's visit.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Doesn't-
I heard about that. I don't really understand why Dawn would really needs to hide when CPS comes.
Right.
I don't get that. But I will say that it's very common for people in construction working at houses to bring a microwave, fridge, and stuff like that to the house. That's not uncommon at all.
Right. And see, that's what, when I was watching it, I'm like, okay, remember, this is just this man's opinion. It doesn't make it, and you have to take it how you will.
Exactly. And everyone's perception of everything is different. Like the same instance, two people going through a similar experience together, still perceptions are different. So everything is just a grain of salt, but it is interesting to hear like all from those who were around them, like Allie and H. Like, I just want to know, like, even though you take it all with a grain of salt, what these people have to say.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been quite the road. Because when we started off, Cher interviewing Dawn, it was a very different persona that he had then than he does now.
Interesting.
Yeah, he was very timid and he came across very broken and just beaten down. Now he's very aggressive.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Do you think, Mr. Cher, we're ever gonna find Summer or find out? Do you think they're gonna have any type of case or make an arrest in her disappearance?
They may. I mean, I hope that law enforcement has done more than what we think they have.
Same.
But the way it's looking, I don't think so. I don't think they're ever going to, unless someone rolls.
Right.
But yeah, I really don't think so.
Too. It's like the John Bonet case. Like nobody knows like who killed her. And the family were the last ones to see her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think they all have their thoughts on who did it, but without any evidence.
Yeah.
And law enforcement, they won't arrest somebody unless they have what they think is enough evidence to convict. So even if they suspect, they won't act on it.
Yeah,
they can't be. They don't want to be proven wrong.
Yeah, and so many people are calling, they have enough cause, arrest them. I don't think they do, unfortunately. As much as I think Dawn and Candace know more, I mean, they have no body. They've searched the property, the house. I don't think they're innocent completely, but it's like they just don't have enough right now. And that's just really sad.
Right. They have to build the case and they're hoping to find her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a needle in a haystack at this point.
Pretty
Yeah.
much.
Do
Yeah, it
you?
would be so easy to hide a body out there. Like you could walk right past it and some of that overgrown
Oh, yeah.
bush and
And
stuff. You could be 2 feet away.
they're
and not even
finding
know.
all these remains all the time. And it's like so sad that these people are out there and no one knows. So,
Mhm.
like you said, it's just to be in that terrain and all that. I mean, how would you ever know? You could drive right by. And unfortunately, in the Gannon Stout case, people did drive by him and his
Yeah.
remains were, and it's just, I hope we get more answers. Which, by the way, has Don ever mentioned like where Summer's shoes were for that day?
I don't think so. Problem is, Don doesn't really know much.
Right.
Like he's always
I was at work.
working or drunk.
Yeah.
Seems like. So, like, you ask him for one memory about. Oh, sure, it's nothing. You ask him one memory about his daughter. It's always the same thing. To twirl on my arm.
She liked to twirl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, give us one more.
Right.
And nothing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, to me, he kind of comes across as like the absentee father. Like he's there, but not really.
Right.
Not really involved in the kids' lives.
Yeah.
And Candace won't talk, so
Exactly. And it reminds me a lot of, and I can say this just because we know, I mean, she has temper issues and other issues, which obviously I can't diagnose her, but a lot of crime around where I live is gang related, and it sounds different, which it is different worlds, obviously, but at the same time, these murders happen between the gangs, and nobody talks, and nothing ever gets solved. And I feel like that mentality of like that criminal mind is what Candace is going to give everyone. I don't know anything. The fake crying on Dr. Phil was an act. It's just, we're never going to get anything. And Dr. Phil said, I'm not saying you know more, but we think that you were showing signs of deception, or we think that whatever he said. And he's like, we need you to dig into yourself. And I'm thinking, she's never going to.
no.
This is what it is. And look at her mother, silent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I feel the comparison with the John Bonet case comes in, because those closest to the victims in both instances, even though one's a missing child and the other one was murdered, the parents stuck to one story the whole time. And how, it's very easy for husband and wife, and we've seen it in other cases and couples, to have each other's back. Like, this is our story. This is what we're sticking to. And Candace's story is what it is. She gave it to Chris McDonough and Dr. Phil and everyone else that she's spoken to. And the grandma's gone along with it. And Don's gone along with it. And it's like those three, for some reason, that's what they're going to give us. And that's, I feel, sadly, I think this is as far as it's going to get.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And yeah, Zena, I believe she did call into someone's stream. The problem is, as soon as you start probing her about what happened that day, that's when she shuts down. She'll talk about her relationship with Dawn and stuff, but yeah, nothing really pertinent to some.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, the entire case, again, I've said this before, but I think people are so interested in it because just look at the characters around it. And, they're talking on YouTube. I can't even keep up with it. Like, so I saw someone mention Candace called in. I'm like, I wouldn't even know where to find that. I watched when they would, your interviews with Dawn. And then after that, I'm kind of got lost because it was so much.
Yeah, I mean, you could spend all day on
Yes,
YouTube
yes.
watching because there's just so much, and there's just no way to keep up with it all.
No, there's really not. Thank you, Seth.
You're awesome, Seth.
Happy New Year, Seth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in actually yours or Cher's interview with Don, at one point he talked about handing over TVs and they took clothing from that day.
Hmm.
So the smart TVs, is that what they have in the house?
I wonder.
I honestly don't know. I would assume that they do.
Right. So that's interesting because there's cameras. And all they would need to do is kind of extract what kind of data they needed or whatever, and then they give them back. I'm just curious if anything of that was like talked about, or, hey, like, remember when MK signed her cell phone over? We have like the paperwork saying like she agreed to this extraction, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if like you guys know of like them signing over, but they gave their phones up. So I'm wondering if something in there said like, we will be looking through your electronics, blah, blah, blah. I mean, why take the TV?
Right.
Yeah, I honestly don't know.
That's an interesting thought. Yeah, I just really wonder, I mean, Joe Clyde Daniels in 2018, he was 5 years old. He went missing. His father did confess, but then recanted the confession. But they've never found his body. They found no DNA at the house. I still have some questions in that case. But again, it's just really sad that children, people go missing, and there are times when they are never found. And that's really scary,
Yeah, it is.
And it's like, even though you see the red flags with the parents, with grandma, whoever, you can't arrest people without enough evidence. And I'm glad it's that way. But at the same time, it's like, sometimes I wish they could push people a little harder and get them to crack. But again, it is what it is. It's just sad.
Yeah, it is.
Summer
I don't know
might
if we're,
be a
I don't know if
lot.
we're ever going to get answers with that one.
Yeah. Time will tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hopefully law enforcement is going down all the avenues, but it doesn't seem that way. Like, it seems like Lawson was more important, was more focused on just denouncing anything Dawn says.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just seems weird. Doesn't seem like they're really doing
Yeah.
anything.
I can't decide how I feel about Lawson. Honestly.
Me too. Like, I would like to think that they have more and they're just keeping things close to their vest, but then things have like, I don't know. He's like contradicted himself. Like, I can't even think of an example, but there were things that I was like, wait a minute, what? Like, at one point he said something about the father's criminal history, but like, then Candace has all these mugshots, and not saying she was convicted of a crime, but still it seems as though they would have had record of her criminal history as well.
Yeah.
And this was the first press conference, which I think was the 16th, so the day after she went missing. So maybe he didn't know, but he knew the fathers.
Yeah.
And they like asked, was it something of concern relating to her disappearance, or like pretty much trying to ask if it was like, did he think it was tied to her being missing, like the father's criminal history? And he's like, I don't have it in front of me right now.
Yeah.
Well, most of Don's criminal history was drug related and stuff. It wasn't so much anything about any child abuse. The allegations have come after that
Right.
with the family, but that's that no convictions of that anyway.
Right.
But yeah, it seems like everyone's focused, or most people seem to be focused on Dawn. But for me, I mean, Candace was the last one to see her.
Yeah.
He was the one with her all day. She's the one who said she went missing in a 2-minute window.
Right.
Yeah.
She has way more red flags in the grand scheme of the timeline and the events. You know, like we're looking at this day, and Chris McDonough, he handed us Candace's whole story in a way and answered questions. And like, honestly, it's alarming because I really think that she tried her best to kind of charm Chris through all that. And it's just red flags. There's and you know what else I always go back to? Okay, random abduction, like I'll take that into play, or I'll, entertain the idea. But then I'm like, what is the odds that, and even not at the abduction route, just thinking about the odds of Candace's sister going missing and her daughter, to me, that is like, if I go down these other avenues, I still go back to that aspect. Like, what are the odds? Because I like to, think about statistics and percentages. Like, is this likely? And to me, it's like very alarming. Like, there's no way. Like, they both just vanished, and maybe Candace's sister did. You know what I mean? And that's obviously what happened, because that's still a mystery. But could that have helped some story, for Candace to come up with, because if it happened to somebody close to her in the past, I'll just say that that's what happened again.
I still think Grandis and Candace are possibly both into trafficking, and they, that could have been what happened to Rose, and that could be what happened to Summer.
It's possible.
Y'all are so cute.
What's up, baby?
It's like, I need attention.
Still the honeymoon stage.
Uh-huh.
I love it.
What are you guys up to today?
Not too sure.
24 hours.
Probably not going outside. It's cold.
No, we're staying indoors. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. I'd be in that bathrobe, just cozy all day.
Same.
Yeah, it's something like that.
More so cozy.
Oh my gosh. You guys watch Cobra Kai? I felt like I heard y'all mention that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we finished the new season, and I gotta say I was disappointed.
Yeah, we're on episode. I think we watched two episodes last night. I just couldn't really get into it.
No, they changed. I think they have a new director or something now, because it went really gimmicky.
Yeah.
And it gets worse and worse and worse.
Like, how does Carrie Underwood make sense with Cobra Kai?
Oh, is she in it?
Yeah, if they haven't watched it all.
Sorry.
Oh, I don't. You can.
I was so angry though the whole time.
Yeah, it was like they were trying to make it more than it was. Like, and as someone who likes documentaries and like filmmaking and stuff, how they filmed everything and how they over edited so much stuff and added all these blues and oranges all the time, it really took me out of it.
Yeah. Like I said, we're only on the second one, and my husband too. He's like, not as into it as the other ones, but we'll probably finish it just to finish it.
I think.
Yeah, I think the next season will be better, but yeah, it's like they weren't expecting to make this season and they rushed it or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's what it was.
Maybe all the COVID restrictions or whatever, it was like hard for them to put stuff together or something like that. Fell apart.
Yeah, probably.
Well, I won't even start watching it after your guys' reviews.
The
It's
first
still
few,
good.
No, I would still watch it.
Like it is. It's a great
Is it on
show.
Netflix? I'm
but-
sorry.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Like if you like Karate Kid as a kid, you know, it's kind of
Mhm.
nostalgic to see all these child actors as adults. So I mean, that alone is kind of the novelty of the whole thing.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it had its good moments, but
Can't
it's
relate.
definitely
I'm not a fan, but I know Kelly likes Karate Kid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Daniel like looks the same as an adult as he did as a kid. It's weird. It's like, are you a human or an alien?
Yeah, he doesn't really age, that guy, and he was
No.
fairly old in it when he made that Karate Kid movie too. I think.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, he's got to be in his 60s.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't look. He looks younger than me.
So
Yeah.
next Saturday or Sunday, you're having Alex Erickson on.
Oh, Alex Erickson, right on.
Nice.
Yeah,
I love her.
Wonderful to watch.
We got to get all three. C.D.T, Amber, and Alex would be a really good show.
That would be.
Yeah.
And I also want to do one with Carl.
Yeah.
Whatever guys are in true crime, because there's not many of us.
No.
Yeah, I was just talking about that last
We are
night.
very outnumbered
Not
in this
very
genre.
many that are actually men. And not
Well, yeah.
women.
Plus, yeah, half of them are just whiny little punks that can't stop talking about other women.
Yeah.
It's
So they're not
fair.
men.
Women's
Actual
know.
men in true crime. I want to talk about.
Carl is the one who's really been digging into the different like connections of the people in the Wells case, right? Like,
Yeah, Enchanted LifePath is Carl, and he's working very closely with Reverend Donna. And we all know what Reverend Donna is capable of, and that's what scares me in this case. Like, Reverend Donna isn't someone I'd ever get a personal reading from, because look at how much she got right. Even just Lori Daybell case alone, she didn't just get one thing or two or three things right. She got almost everything dead on. And that's scary.
And that wasn't even her first case that she'd kind of like been very, very close on, right?
That's why I'm super stoked that she's in touch with, like, she will be, right now she's all into the summer and that connection, but she will be helping with the Courtney Struble case. She has, so she'll be helping with that, and I can't wait to hear what she has to say when she's done with summer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
your interview was good with her.
it's gonna be wild.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
We should have Reverend Donna and Carl on. That'd be good.
I'd like to. I'm very leery when it comes to like mediums or psychics or whatever, but because I know a lot of people are phonies, but
Right.
I do think there are like energies that people can pick up on.
Yeah.
Because even as a
believe
kid,
it.
like I remember back when I was a kid, long before call display, the phone would ring and I'd know who it was before I even picked it up.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I remember
Yeah.
this.
Everyone has the sixth sense. Some are more in tune than others.
Yep.
Yeah.
Reverend Donna told me I'm gifted, so I mean that's fine.
you know
That's
that.
a bold point. She just said I have to open up more and meditate.
Ooh.
You should.
I'm kind of afraid because I already get some things right.
You're like, I don't want to go too deep.
That is something Cheryl will say, you watch in a couple months, all this stuff's going to happen. And more often than not, it does.
Yeah.
That happened to me with Mr. Rogers. When he passed away, the day before he passed away, I was thinking about him and I was wondering if he was still alive because I grew up watching Mr. Rogers. Like it was just everything to me at one point, early childhood, early memories. And I was thinking about him and I was like, I wonder if he's still alive. And then the next day they announced he passed. And that to me has been like one of my sixth sense, like you were saying, like you watch, it'll happen. So
that was one of my first things that freaked me out. I can't remember how old I was, but it's the night that Princess Diana died. I dreamt that the Queen died.
Wow.
And I woke up and I told everyone, I'm like, the Queen's gonna die, like she's gonna die, she's dying. And then I remember we were on our way to church and I was in the back of the van, we heard on the radio Princess Diana had died. And I was like, holy shit. And I remember the look on even the foster parents' faces were like, what the heck?
Yeah.
gifted.
Back away.
Yeah, I'm like, oh shit. But I remember being like, this is weird.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, it is weird. But these things I believe in. And like you said, there's so many phonies. You have to be skeptic.
Mhm.
I might be too skeptical. I don't believe anything. I'm way too analytical.
So that's super good because
That's
then
good.
Reverend Donna will let you play her readings on the Vallow case. So you should look into that before you have Reverend Donna on, and then actually look at what happened in the case. Because Reverend Donna called it, I think it was 4 months before the bodies were even found. And then, so how much of a skeptic you are, and then have Reverend Donna on, it'd be very interesting to see your reaction to her reading.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Agree.
And sometimes you don't believe in something until it happens to you, like a experience with like paranormal, like ghost or whatever.
That's why a good
I've had a ghost
hunting team will always have a skeptic on their team.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I remember watching a ghost hunting show. It was just this trailer, and I knew it was fake just from that, because they were filming this guy at night in this house, and there's this weird sound, but he doesn't look to where the sound came from. He looked at the camera. So right there, I knew.
Yeah. And it's good to have, like, okay, so sounds so corny. I've been ghost hunting, and the skeptic, they have to, oh, I thought I heard something. No, guys, that was just this right here.
The debunker.
Yeah. It's vital.
Baby, since you got the shirt on, why don't you say a little bit about Brandon Dassey? What do you girls think about Brandon Dassey and Stephen Avery?
I got the Brendan Dassey merch going.
Here, let me get that.
Corruption, lots of corruption, and very tragic.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot, but yeah, nice. I like that.
I believe they used the read technique with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is very problematic.
Oh yeah, that was ridiculous. How they convicted Brandon was beyond me.
So Brandon's Dassey dad, and the team checking convictions. Becca Chu and Mr. Cher, I think, are going to be working on something. So
Nice.
Oh,
Good.
wow, good.
I know he wants to be making documentaries.
Yeah.
That's a good one, because you need to make ripples in things that are, because that's gone to the Supreme Court, hasn't it? And they still stuck by their main conviction.
Yeah, I think there's only one more avenue left for Brendan, I believe.
Wow.
But yeah, it goes back to that whole, they never ever want to admit they made a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And it's a lot like that with the Seattle Police Department when you're looking in the Kurt Cobain case also. You see, and one of the main detectives that worked his case was later, he had to, he resigned before he was fired pretty much, but it came out in some trial that he was like witness to or involved in, that there was corruption and shady activity behind the scenes. And he was tied into that. So if he was tied into this, corrupt whatever, later on, after he talked about the Kurt Cobain case, you can kind of allude to, well, how do we know you're whatever you did here, because it wasn't even an investigation. They never interviewed anybody around Kurt. It was just, this is what he did, and that's what it is.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad, the Brendan Dassey, he has gotten like the Netflix show. I think that.
And it's unfortunate that we can't play that Netflix and do like reaction to it. Like that would be so interesting to watch, like people who know a lot more about the case, like yourself, watch it and then break it down. You know what I mean? Like that would be, but Netflix is so, you can't
Yeah,
even
they don't
show
play.
anything. Yeah.
They don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the first case that really got me into true crime. Like, not so much for YouTubing, but that was the most interesting case because I watched that, and it
Yeah.
was just, I could not believe the outcome. When you watch that documentary, you just think there's no possible way.
Right.
But
And
yeah, they're still locked up.
yeah. I forgot a lot of what that documentary was, but I remember when it first and everyone was talking about it and watching it, it really was like, what? This happened in the country I live in? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
surely this can't be.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
Crazy.
authorities can do bad things with their power.
Yep. And they do. I mean, it's just facts. They do. They're not all great people there for the right reasons,
Right. There is gonna be in every
Baby,
profession.
you had it muted. I was all talking to you guys. He had it muted.
Oh, what were you saying?
I'm saying there's corruption. There's everywhere. Like humans are the ones doing everything. So there's a human. Like there is cases if people do research where everyone wants to be like, oh, it's a specialist, so we believe him. But specialists are human, and they are sometimes corrupted when shown a handful of cash or whatever, all these promises, or if they're threatened or whatever, they're gonna lie. And there is cases if people do research where the specialists have admitted that they lied.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it just
It creeps me out that Don Wells studied the Madeleine McCann case with me. Like, people don't understand why I do certain things with Don, but it's to see what he does, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, when I send him these cases and I'm like, well, look at this. And I straight up said to him about the staircase murders, I'm like, this dude killed 2 people and got away with it. And he's like, oh, really? And then I was like, watch it. And he did. And you can tell he watched and was pretty much coached when he did the interviews with me.
Wow.
Yeah, I agree with you about the staircase.
And that is creepy. And I don't know why everyone's just like blaming me for doing that. Well, why are you being manipulative? Well, aren't interrogators manipulative?
Yeah.
Aren't detectives liars? Like they say whatever just to get you to talk. I look at it the same way.
Yeah, they teach you techniques for a reason. Like even in interviews that I watch of Courtney Love, the reporter or whoever's interviewing her, I mean, you can tell they want to get certain, like Howard Stern, prime example.
I love Howard Stern.
Me too. Oh my gosh, you have to watch his stuff with Courtney Love. He's got her on numerous times. It's very entertaining, but very telling. He has ways to kind of manipulate the conversation and like get her to go down paths and give up more stuff. I mean, it is what it is. If you want to get information from somebody, I mean, for Howard, it was for entertainment to make his show good, not.
He gives them some alcohol and a little bit of weed and then has them on the show feeling all nice and loose. He's smart.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Here's your show back, baby.
I need to go soon and get my kids ready to go to their grandma's for a little bit.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, we're hitting the 2-hour mark, so I think we're pretty good to cut this one off.
We talked.
I know. He's just like, okay, I'm gonna take a nap.
No. Put Cher on. No.
Yeah, you're Cher.
It could go on and on. Absolutely.
Yeah. Any other talk? But Yeah, thanks for having us. And
Well, thanks for coming on.
of course,
Anytime.
I'm looking forward to have you having Allie on, Alex Erickson.
Yeah, that's going to be another good one.
Yeah.
There's so many people I want to have on for these morning coffees.
Yeah. And I love it because it just, it depends, like whoever you're talking to, the conversations go different ways. And it's just interesting to watch you with people.
Yeah, agree.
Mm-hmm. So, and yeah, good luck tomorrow, Cher.
Thank you. We'll be
Yes,
live at some
and
point. for sure.
congratulations.
Okay. Yes. Be sending you good vibes.
Oh,
Thanks,
awesome.
guys.
Yeah, it's going to be, she's nervous and excited, but it's going to be great.
It's
Yeah,
gonna be
it'll all
totally
be
worth it. Yes.
For sure.
So,
Yeah,
all
keep
right.
us updated too on your progress and how you're feeling.
Oh, yeah, we will.
I'll be
Yeah, she said once she gets her grill done, she's going to be annoying her when she's going to be on YouTube all the time.
So,
Yeah.
Mr. got me hair extensions for Christmas. I'm doing a whole makeover after I get my new teeth. So I'll be dyeing these purple while I'm healing.
Ooh,
Love it.
And then I'm just going to be all up in my haters' faces all day long, every day.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
If you don't have haters, you're doing something wrong.
That's right.
Yeah. No kidding.
Unfortunately, it takes a little bit of confidence to want to be on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, look at me. Why do you think I don't go on camera?
Oh, please.
I love
think
hiding. Yeah, but I'm not done up.
You don't need to be.
And I like staying in my hoodie. Like, let me just be comfy and.
After all
But
day
yeah, I
when you're
know
at
what you
home.
mean. I applaud anybody who can open themselves up on camera like that. Like I give you guys all props.
Thank you.
Mhm. Well, all right, guys. Thanks again for having me. And I'm sure I'll message Cher and Amber today.
Yeah, we'll talk soon. We'll
Yeah.
see everyone around. And thank you to the mods and chat and Mr. and Mrs. Cher. Thank you.
Yeah.
Happy 2022, guys.
Oh, yes. 2022.
Yes. Happy New Year.
All right. We'll talk soon. Bye.
Bye.
Hi, C.D.T. Well, this was an awesome one. I was looking forward to that. Yeah, that was great. So yeah, thank you very much, C.D.T. and Amber Truth Seeker News for coming on for another great coffee. And yeah, we'll be doing it again next week. And thank you very much to everyone for tuning in and watching and chatting along with us. Oh, I wasn't really paying much attention to the chat, but I was really trying to focus on the guests. So, but yeah, thanks all. We love you, and we'll catch you on the next one. And until then, this is Prairie Boy 77, aka Mr. Cher, saying good day, good night, and Godspeed.